Hey guys, so recently my old student got his ass beat by a gang of Mexicans. So I thought, hey, maybe this could help me. Check this shit out. Mercury Fulminate is a primary explosive which is highly sensitive to shock, friction and heat. And all it takes for it to blow up is a slight tap from a hammer. Like this. God damn! For that reason, it was mostly used in bullet primers from 1807 until the early 20th century. If I had to take a wild guess, you'd probably know it from Breaking Bad as that one thing which isn't meth, from Sekiro Shadows Die Twice as an item, and from the sideways comic book called Dr. Stone, where they were building a gun. Anyway, with all of that out of the way, in this video I'll show you how to synthesize Mercury Fulminate in small amounts. This process is really well known and there are already countless amateur videos on it, which basically just tell you how to make this explosive without even touching any safety measures. Which, to be honest, is actually pretty based.
Really corrosive and strong mineral. I don't know what any of this stuff means. I'm gonna probably kill myself.
This video has been done for educational purposes only, and this procedure should only be attempted under professional supervision. First things first, we're gonna need some mercury, and because I live in the shithole known as Eastern Europe, I can't buy it directly. So I found a legal loophole and I've bought a shit ton of these mercury-based switches. These little guys have little mercury bits which when opened can be collected into a one big blob. When I was opening them, I've noticed that some mercury was actually ricocheting all over my workbench, and in hindsight I feel like I haven't cleaned this up fully. Anyway, in the end I've got around 3.6 grams of mercury which I'm going to use for this procedure. Next, let's dissolve the mercury in some concentrated nitric acid. Also, as a side note, this nitric acid was actually made at home. So I've added around 4 ml of the homemade nitric acid into the beaker. And this is pretty much where the danger spikes, because we're basically converting mostly harmless inert mercury into a water-soluble mercury salt. And the gist of it is, if you get the mercury solution on your skin, the mercury goes into your bloodstream, then crosses the brain-blood barrier, and basically makes you mentally retarded. Which isn't actually a joke. For the record, I did have a lot of contact with mercury, so that's probably the reason for why I'm so autistic. Once there is no more metallic mercury, I prepare around 5 ml of 96% ethanol. Then I've added all of the mercury solution into the flask. Now, if you're like me and you have a nitric acid that has a lower concentration than you expected, or just added too little nitric acid, then you will get a white precipitate. This is actually mercuric 2 nitrate, aka what's left of the mercury, and the reason it crashed out is because it's insoluble in ethanol, and it's important to have it in solution, so I've added some nitric acid to correct my mistake. This process doesn't start at all unless you hit it or wait for a long time, so in the chronological order I've put a hot plate under it, started randomly adding ethanol and nitric acid while wondering what the fuck was going on, and suddenly the reaction started. This reaction starts spewing a bunch of nitrogen oxides into the air. What's happening here is the mercuric 2 nitrate in presence of the nitric acid reacts with the ethanol to form acetaldehyde and mercuric fulminate. This process is not understood at all and I will give you $5 and a hand job if you actually manage to find a scientific resource on this reaction and its mechanism. However, very simply put, the nitrate ion in an acidic environment with ethanol somehow reacts to produce the fulminate ion. After a while this reaction finally calms down and there's a dirt-like powder on the bottom of the beaker, so all it takes is to just filter off the water and we've got our mercury fulminate. After most of the water and ethanol mixture passed through, I've simply left the fulminate to dry. So now it's time to test this. First, I've rolled around 5 mg of the fulminate into an aluminum foil. This is to stop contaminating my lab with toxic mercury salts. God damn! Then I've tested its flammability and the way it kind of shrieks with fire means that it's not dry enough. Here's for a friction test, which basically means I will have to rub the fulminate as fast as possible to make it explode. In the end it didn't work because it's probably still too wet. Here's a slow-mo.